I've seen a lot of hot takes in my days on the internet. A number of them, mind you. Some of them we've even covered on this channel. But this is perhaps, and I kid you not, one of the wildest takes on Pokemon that I have ever seen on the internet. And that may seem hyperbolic until you see the context. So those that have played Scarlet and Violet will know where this is going, or at the very least know kind of what this is referencing. I'm 99% sure that this is bait. This has to be bait. There is no way that this is a good face post. So obviously this is going to be a Lamau Kip fell for bait. On the off chance that it isn't bait, though, one of the hottest takes, wildest takes I've ever seen on Pokemon. Arvin's blatantly zoophilic storyline has me a little emotional. Outliving your non-human partner is one of the most difficult things about being Zoo. I love my dog so much. I do anything to keep her healthy. So immediately, I kind of look at the post, and I've sent this to a couple friends. We look at the post, we blink twice, and immediately follow up with, what the insert expletive here, right? Trying to be more YouTube friendly. But what in the blazes is happening here? I really have to just question that. Like, quite literally, the Madara Uchiha, like, happy face into the frown. Oh my, there's so much to unpack here. So, I know there's going to be some people that are like, oh, well, that's just furries. No, that's not. In fact, having reached out to a friend of mine who is furry, right? They even went into like, no, this is completely different, right? You have furry and you have zoo. Zoo is kind of like you love your pet in the same way that you would a partner. So this post has a lot of things implied. And why this is one of the wildest takes, and why I wanted to kind of react and cover this, is because sometimes, even if you have an opinion, it is just blatantly wrong. As somebody who played both Scarlet and both Scarlet and Violet, right? I played both back to back. I'd say I'm fairly familiar with Arvin's storyline, right? Because the whole spoiler for 2-year-old game at this point. Spoiler, incident happened to his Mabastiff. Mabastiff was kind of knocking on the Reaper's door, right? Reaper was like, "Hey, you coming with me, right?" And the whole plot line continues, and it's about making Mabastiff feel better, right? As a friend kind of thing, especially for an absent parent kind of family dynamic, right? So made sense. Totally just like, yeah, awesome, cool Pokemon, loves his Pokemon in a way that, wants to make sure that his only friend, or one of his real only friends, is safe, that kind of thing. So it gets a little odd, because I understand where they're coming from, but they're taking that almost romantic angle, and they're taking it in a way that realistically was not intended. And I do use the word realistically, because there was no form of romantic involvement, there was no form of feeling like this that really was kind of portrayed in that. And so once again, this leads us into the argument we've had before on stream. There's a notorious article from Naruto about how the Uchiha clan are a parallel for Native American suffering, and this article goes into paragraphs about it. So you can draw anything from anything, realistically, right? If it helps you justify the Uchiha clan and their persecution, sure, I guess. Does that make you right? Not necessarily. To which, same buddy who I've sent this to, we've gone entire paragraphs back and forth on that whole Naruto interaction where, yeah, you can draw, literary, a parallel, allegory, etc. from anything. It doesn't mean that you're right, though. You can factually just be wrong. And I think that this is one of those, it's worded in a way as far as, oh, it's so positive, it's so forward thinking, it's so it absolutely, this is a difficult thing that, people of the zoo community face. And I sit here and I go, okay, but I want people to understand the context, you to understand the context of what you have just said. This is by far one of the wildest takes that I have ever seen. And I, in good faith, can't agree with it, right? I'm very much identify as who you want to. Identify as a toaster, right? Like who you want. I don't care. At the end of the day, it's not my thing. When we start to give blatantly and factually incorrect information or analyses, yes, right, plural, I do start to take a little bit of an issue, right? If you were to be like, hey, the whole Fate Stay Night thing, right? Well, Astolfo is a great trans character. Excuse you? I know very little of Fate. I know that Astolfo is just male, right? Femboy status. Now, if you want to draw, inspiration, absolutely. If you're like, oh, they're iconic, I love them as a character, cool. Who am I to stop you? But to blatantly just say and argue, because I've had people argue this with me, well, but they're a symbol for the trans community, this is the... Okay, whoa, we're stepping over a line here. Like that, we're getting a little out here. Well, the Uchiha clan are a great parallel for Native American suffering and persecution. Okay, I can kind of justify where you're coming from. I can see the thought process here, but that's literally not what that is. Oh, well, Arven's blatantly zoophilic storyline, it's about wanting to save your partner, non-human partner, and a non-human partner outliving. Whoa. I see where you're trying to connect the lines, but I, in good faith, cannot agree with you. And this does come into, there's several arguments that get tossed around. One of them has been, banning children from the internet. I mean, it starts getting into... what's the cost-benefit analysis of this, right? If this ended up in a video and minors were to see it, right? And being unable to have the problem-solving skills, being unable to really be able to critically think or even disagree with a statement like this, right? I think that might be a problem. I think we start running into a problem where we run into the wildest takes like this. This is kind of out there, right? Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things on the internet in regards to Pokemon, at least allegedly from what I've heard. Especially when you have a story that for all intents and purposes is marketed at children, right? To children, which, kids are allowed to have stories as well, right? I grew up with Pokemon Crystal, went back to Pokemon Yellow, grew up on Fire Red. I've played every mainline game, right? And to this day, even then, like I play Scarlet and Violet, and it's like, okay, this is still marketed at kids. This was a story about schools, bullying, kind of finding your own identity, that kind of thing. Cool. Okay, I can acknowledge that. This is not necessarily a product marketed towards me, right? Despite me, wanting to get back into VGC and stuff like that. But that's kind of a section of the community rather than marketing at kids. And it's fine to have those segments of just like, wow, Pokemon gets dark. What do you mean Pokemon gets dark? Have you read Drifloon's entries, especially Gen 4, Diamond and Pearl? Oh my God. When we start to encounter things like this, I think that they need to be really kept in check and on authority from multiple people at this point. This is definitely one of those straight up WTF moments. And this is so surreal and unreal that this does classify as bait to me. There's no way. So I kind of wanted to just, I guess, rant about that for a minute. I kind of wanted to just throw that out there, that I guess this is a thing. I guess this is a thing potentially, allegedly, that people may think. I wanted to kind of stress critical thinking, and it's okay to have opposition, right? It's okay to have opposition to certain things, especially if they fall outside of realistically a norm. Now, that is not me giving license. That is not me giving agency to be like, just indiscriminately just, disagree, hate people. No, I'm not saying that at all. When we start running into things like this in regards to a blatant misleading claim on a story like this and trying to normalize behavior like this, I think we need to have a deeper discussion here amongst adults, obviously, to really assess and address, is this necessarily the correct thing? Is this a thing that, really should be championed? And if this is going to have consequences for the greater Pokemon community, right? All it takes for a community is to have bad actors, a bad actor even, do something really stupid, and then it affects everyone else. And you're like, oh, well, that's not necessarily, something that is relevant, right? You're being hyperbolic here. Am I, though? Remember back during Sun and Moon, before Sun and Moon released, right? There were people who pirated copies of Sun and Moon before release, I'm stressing that, and played it on their 3DS systems, on their Nintendo account, and were playing Sun and Moon on official Nintendo servers, right? So that kind of mirrors what's happening in recent days, recent weeks, etc., where we have just this one dude just pirating a bunch of games, especially before they're released, and playing them on emulators and giving out keys to the emulators and stuff like that, where one person can potentially ruin the whole emulation thing for everybody, right? Now, I obviously, for legal reasons, do have to state that if you are going to want to emulate games, you need to source a proper copy of the game. And that's from a legal standpoint, I have to say and stress that, right? Any game that I would want to hypothetically emulate, I mean, I'm looking in my drawer right now. I have my Gen 1 cartridges. I got, Fire Red, Leaf Green, Japanese versions of them on black, white, etc., right? Especially because these are also copies of games that are only sold on third-party markets and not through Nintendo proper, to which, once again, I argue Nintendo should just be selling them proper. That way we can just cut a bunch of that out. However, it just takes, even just in the same sphere of Pokemon, right, or Nintendo, it takes one person to really kind of sour their opinion, to sour other opinions from other people as well. And I do also want to stress, yes, there was the whole PokeLeaks thing, certain things regarding Typhlosion, certain things regarding certain mythos, right? At the end of the day, they are not official. I don't know what the structure is like over there. I would assume it's similar to a Disney Vault kind of thing, right? Where there's been multiple artists that'll say, like, yeah, well, when you're under Disney contract, right? And this, I'm going to put allegedly here. When you're under Disney contract, anything that you do is, with the IP is owned by Disney. So there hypothetically and allegedly is a bunch of spicy art of certain characters in the Disney Vault because it is still owned by them, but it's not recognizable in an official capacity, right? So, yeah, do with this information as you will. Obviously, I don't condone, I don't support, respect any sort of harassment, targeted bullying, anything to anyone that does, anyone, right? Even this original OP, even if it's bait. I'm assuming it's bait at this point, but I wanted to have a discussion on how wild this is as a concept and how kind of detached and removed from reality it is to even get that out of that story. Like, once again, as played both Scarlet and Violet, there's not real story differences there, right? Like, getting this conclusion from that, we have an entire character arc of progression to even get there, and that never happened. I don't know how to end this video. Yeah, like if you liked it, dislike if you disliked it. I don't know. The wildest take I've seen. Have a good one.